The precipice of change is daunting. No matter how progressive or adventurous we fancy ourselves to be, it's human nature to resist and fear change at deep levels. It's also human nature to move toward the old familiar, even when we know we no longer want it, or we know it's not healthy or good for us. We think the new choice, the new relationship, cross-country move, home, is supposed to feel like a big yes. Like if I'm supposed to move here or say yes to a date with this person, I should know it. This person should feel like my soulmate before I even get to know them. Or this place I'm considering moving to, my potential new home, should feel like my soulmate home. Or any change, really. It could be about homeschooling your kid. Almost anything. If it's right for me, I should know it in my bones, you think. When, in reality, the nature of new is unfamiliar, disconcerting. That's its energy. The very quality of deviating from an old familiar pattern and moving into a new reality, one based on what's right for your growth and evolution at this point in time, is a feeling of differentness or even discomfort. Think about this romantically because this is an easy analogy to make. A person keeps choosing the same partner over and over again in different people. Different partner, but they're the same one. They're abusive or narcissistic or unreliable, won't commit, whatever. They think, why does this keep happening? Why am I choosing the same person in different people? I want to make a new choice. Here's why. The thing that you get most drawn in by, lit up by, is usually the childhood pattern repeating itself. So a part of your psyche says, yep, there it is. This is what I know. Let's do this. And we attract the old pattern. So when you come across someone that's not my type and you feel some resistance, like, I don't know at all about this. I feel unsure. Some resistance and not being sure about your choice on a mental level is actually evidence you're moving into new territory and breaking up an old pattern. On a soul or subtle level, it's usually a different story. And I'll get to that in a moment. But first I wanted to tell you my story. I have a story here. I knew my husband well over a year before we went on our first date. We had worked together. We talked, even spent some time together. But I had no idea how I really felt about him. He was so different from anyone I'd ever met before. He was as foreign to me as India, which is a place I've never visited. Before our first kiss, I had no idea if I was even attracted to him. I felt edgy, a little uncomfortable around him. But I took a risk. Of course, I went on that first date, and the rest is history. Eventually we got married, and he is my soulmate. But all those soulmatey feelings of familiarity, comfort, instant affinity, they weren't there initially. They did kick in, but not in the beginning. The old pattern was looking for that it thing in the other person, that fizz of excitement, that thrill of chemistry, which always landed me back into, you guessed it, the old childhood pattern of attracting the man that I didn't want to be with. And of course, I didn't do that with him. In the midst of change, the ego has a tendency to cling to what is known, no matter how adventurous and open to change we think we are. For instance, a man is looking to upgrade his job and doesn't understand why he doesn't feel the click with an exciting opportunity that he knows will bring him growth. That's because he's unconsciously looking to replicate the same job he already has in the new place. So he'll keep measuring those radical choices of his true self at this point in evolution against different but similar variations of the job he already has. And this will cause the ego to second guess itself and go, maybe it will be better over there, and possibly not make a decision at all. Understand that the ego looks for the old familiar sock, shoe, or flannel shirt, thinking that it needs that same feeling of comfort it has. No matter how uncomfortable the familiar is, there is a sense of comfort in the familiar. So the ego looks for that reassurance in the new, that something about it feels familiar. And it wants that reassurance before it agrees to turn a new corner. Of course, it's not going to get that reassurance if the true corner is the true self corner of change. Because that feeling of familiarity will only bring the ego back into the same old pattern. There is a part in each of us, beyond mind and ego, that will always steer us toward the right direction for our true self. And that's the soul. The soul is a part of us that knows what we want and need before our mind does. If, for instance, you have a decision to make, and on a mental level you're agonizing, tune into your soul. Just for a moment, drop into a quiet space and ask, how does the energy of moving in this direction feel? Imagine being in this place with this person. Imagine being in the energy of this new choice. If it's a yes, it will feel smooth, peaceful in your soul, smooth and peaceful in your belly. If it's a no, it'll feel icky, maybe like lead or aversion. If it's a yes, but, and then fear, which is usually what most of us are working with, your ego is interrupting. So you may need to play with this technique until you can get into a space of no fear. That is quieting your mind, letting the ego run through all the scenarios, perhaps before you drop into this space of all-knowing. Your yes will feel smooth and peaceful. Your no will feel like lead or icky. You can play with this technique. It's an energy technique. And you can use this to compare two places or two people or two choices. For instance, the home you aren't resonant with the new home you're considering, or the guy who just asked you out on a first date with the dysfunctional ex. And you can do this. I like to think of this as stacking energy. So you can stack energy side by side. So on the left side, you might put the old dysfunctional relationship guy, and on the right side, you might put this new potential first date. So you hold one, and it feels a certain way in your body. And then you hold the other, and it feels another way in your subtle body. And hopefully it feels very different, because that's the energy of change. If you want to stop unconsciously replicating childhood patterns, be it the home you don't ever feel at home in, or the work situation that stymies you in some pivotal way that's blocking your growth, or the dysfunctional relationship that you keep replicating. Instead of constantly looking for affirmation with that or from that "you complete me" feeling, you need to look for the different, the unknown, the edgy, the "I don't know, I'm not really sure about this." That's a good sign. It's a sign you're doing something different. You're finally turning a new corner. And if you can understand that embracing discomfort and even training yourself to look for a feeling of differentness in situations that you are ready to change, if you can understand that discomfort, unfamiliarity, that "I'm not sure about this" is the circuit breaker that finally switches off old unhealthy patterns, you are ready to grow.